Daniella's eyes snapped open to unfamiliar ceiling moldings gilded in gold. Her heart slammed against her ribs before her brain could catch up. This wasn't her apartment. This wasn't even her continent. She bolted upright, and pain exploded behind her temples. The silk sheets sliding off her body felt like liquid money. Nothing like the Target bedding she'd fallen asleep in 2 nights ago. Or had it been 2 nights? Her memory felt like shattered glass, pieces missing, edges sharp enough to cut. The room swallowed her whole. Floor-to-ceiling windows stretched across one wall, revealing a cityscape she'd only seen in movies. Onion domes, brutalist architecture, snow falling in thick curtains. Moscow. She was in Moscow. No, 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 no. Her voice cracked. She pressed her palms against her eyes, trying to force the memories back into place. New York. JFK Airport. Running. She'd been running from her phone. Where was her phone? Daniella threw the covers back and her breath stopped cold. A wedding dress hung on a velvet chair like a ghost. Ivory silk, hand-beaded, the kind that cost more than her student loans. Her stomach dropped to the floor. She looked down at her left hand. A diamond the size of a marble sat on her ring finger, catching the gray Moscow light and throwing rainbows across her brown skin. The band was platinum, warm, like it had been there for days. What the hell did I do? Her cornrows were still intact, at least. That meant she hadn't been unconscious long. She ran her hands down her body, oversized silk pajamas, her curvy hips barely contained by the drawstring waist. Someone had changed her clothes. Someone had put this ring on her finger. Someone had married her. Daniella stumbled to the window, her legs weak. 30 stories down, Moscow sprawled in every direction, a maze of power and secrets and cold. A city where girls like her disappeared and nobody asked questions. She pressed her forehead against the glass, trying to breathe through the panic. Think. What was the last thing she remembered? JFK, Gate 47, her connecting flight to Shanghai. She'd been running to her gate, looking over her shoulder every 3 seconds, her heart in her throat. And then, the door behind her opened. Daniella spun around so fast she nearly fell. A man stepped into the room, and her first thought was predator. 6'4", shoulders that blocked the doorway, a jawline that could cut diamonds. Blonde hair slicked back, ice blue eyes that tracked her every movement like a sniper finding his target. A scar cut through his left eyebrow, giving him a permanent look of skepticism. He wore a 3-piece suit that probably cost more than her entire wardrobe and moved like violence wrapped in expensive fabric. "Good morning, wife." His voice was smoke and winter. Russian accent, but his English was flawless. "We should talk about last night." Daniella's back hit the window. "I don't know you." "No." He stepped further into the room, hands in, his pockets, casual as death. "But you married me anyway." I wouldn't." Her voice was rising, panic clawing up her throat. "Where am I? What did you do to me?" He pulled something from his jacket pocket and tossed it onto the bed between them. A document. Official looking, embossed with gold seals and Cyrillic text she couldn't read. But she could read the English translation stapled to the back. Marriage certificate. Moscow City Consulate. Yesterday's date. And there, at the bottom, her signature. Daniella Marie Carter. In her handwriting, shaky, terrified, but undeniably hers. "This isn't real." She shook her head, cornrows swinging. "You drugged me. You forged this. I'm calling the police." "The police?" His mouth curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "You're in Russia, Daniella. The police work for men like me. Men like you." Her hands clenched into fists. "Who the hell are you?" "Leonid Morozov." He said it like she should know the name, like it should mean something. "And according to Russian law, I'm your husband." The name rattled around in her skull, trying to connect to something. Morozov. She'd heard that name before. Where had she? Oh God. The Bratva. The word fell out of her mouth like a stone. You're Mafia. Pakhan, he corrected. Leader of the Morozov Bratva. And you, Daniella, are now the wife of the most dangerous man in Moscow. Her knees gave out. She caught herself on the windowsill, her curvy frame shaking. This couldn't be happening. This was a nightmare. She'd wake up in her Brooklyn apartment, late for her shift at the gallery. Her biggest problem, a creepy ex-boyfriend who didn't know how to take no for an answer. Marcus. The memory hit her like a fist. Marcus. FBI agent Marcus Chen. Her ex. The man who'd promised to love her, then spent 2 years making her life a living hell. The man who'd shown up at her apartment 3 days ago with flowers and apologies and a gun tucked in his jacket. The man who'd told her if he couldn't have her, nobody would. You were running. Leonid's voice cut through her spiral. At the airport, 2 days ago. You were running and he was following you. Daniella's head snapped up. How do you know that? Because you told me. He moved to the chair, pulled out his phone, and turned the screen toward her. Sheremetyevo Airport, International Terminal. You approached me in the lounge, do you remember? The video played. Airport lounge, leather chairs, wealthy travelers sipping champagne. And there she was, Daniella, her face streaked with tears, her braids disheveled, her hands shaking as she grabbed a blonde man's arm, grabbed Leonid's arm. Please. Her voice on the video was raw, desperate. Please, I need help. He's going to kill me. He's going to kill me and nobody will stop him because he's FBI and I can't. Leonid's voice, calm and cold. Who's following you? My ex-boyfriend, Marcus Chen. He said if I leave the country, he'll find me. He said he'll make it look like suicide. Please, I need protection. What do you need? Asylum. Marriage. Something. Anything. Please. The video cut off. Daniella stared at the blank screen, her reflection ghostly in the black glass. That was her. She'd said those words. She'd begged this man to save her. I don't remember that. Her voice was barely a whisper. Trauma does that. Leonid pocketed his phone. Selective memory. Your mind protecting you from what you had to do to survive. But marriage? She looked at the ring on her finger, the weight of it suddenly unbearable. Why would I? Because Russian marriage grants immediate residency. Because a wife of a Bratva Pakhan is untouchable by foreign law enforcement. Because in that moment, I was the only man in that airport who could protect you from an FBI agent with nothing to lose. He paused. And because you signed the papers yourself, willingly, desperately, but willingly. Daniella's phone, her actual phone, sat on the nightstand. She hadn't noticed it before. She lunged for it, her hands shaking as she pressed the power button. 47 missed calls. All from Marcus. 32 text messages. She opened the thread and her blood turned to ice. I know you're in Moscow. I know who you married. Did you really think the Russian mob could protect you from me? I'm coming for you, Daniella. And when I find you, you'll wish you'd never run. The last message had a photo attached. Her breath stopped. It was her. Yesterday. In a white dress. Standing in front of a Russian official. Leonid beside her, his hand on her waist, her face pale but determined. Someone had been watching. Someone had documented everything. He has people everywhere. Her voice didn't sound like hers anymore. He said he would find me. He said a lot of things, Leonid interrupted. But he's not here. You are. And for better or worse, you're under my protection now. Protection. She laughed, and it came out broken. You're a criminal. A killer. How is that protection? Because I don't pretend to be anything else. His ice blue eyes held hers. Your ex-boyfriend wears a badge and uses it to terrorize women. I wear a suit and use it to control an empire. The difference? I don't lie about what I am. Daniella wanted to argue, wanted to scream, wanted to wake up from this nightmare. But her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. She opened it. A video file. Her hand trembled as she pressed play. Marcus's face filled the screen. That same charming smile that had fooled her for 2 years. That same voice that had whispered, "I love you," before it started whispering, "I'll kill you." "Hi, baby. I see you got married. Congratulations." His smile widened. "Did you really think the Russian Mafia scared me? I've been investigating the Bratva for 3 years. I know every safe house, every contact, every weakness, including your new husband's." The camera panned. Another man sat tied to a chair, bloodied and barely conscious. "This is Alexei Volkov, Leonid's second in command. Or he was." Marcus's smile never faltered. "I'm coming for you, Daniella. And when I do, your husband won't be able to stop me. Because in 6 hours, the U.S. ambassador is raiding his building for kidnapping and human trafficking. And you're going to be my star witness." The video cut to black. Daniella looked up at Leonid. His face was stone, but his hands had curled into fists. 6 hours, he said quietly. "We have 6 hours before the Americans come for you. What do we do?" He looked at her then, really looked at her, and something shifted in his ice-blue eyes, something almost human. "We make them believe this marriage is real," he said, "or we both die trying." If you're still watching, drop a comment below. Would you have signed those papers? And don't forget to subscribe because this story is just getting started. Leonid moved to the door with the efficiency of a man used to crisis. "Get dressed. We're leaving in 10 minutes." "Leaving?" Daniella's voice cracked. "Where are we going?" "Somewhere the Americans can't reach." He paused at the threshold, his hand on the door frame. "There are clothes in the closet. Everything should fit." "How do you know my size?" His ice-blue eyes met hers. "I'm very thorough." The door closed behind him, and Daniella stood frozen in the center of a room that cost more than her entire life. Her phone buzzed again. She looked down, knowing what she'd see. "Marcus. 6 hours, baby. I'm coming." Her hands were shaking so badly she nearly dropped the phone. She needed to think, needed to breathe, needed to remember how the hell she'd ended up married to a Russian mob boss in less than 48 hours. The closet was a walk-in the size of her old bedroom. Designer labels she'd only seen in magazines. Dresses, pants, shoes in her exact size. Everything black or deep jewel tones. Emerald, sapphire, burgundy. Colors that would complement her brown skin. Someone had thought about this, planned it. She grabbed the first thing her hands touched. Black jeans that hugged her curvy hips. A cashmere sweater in forest green, leather boots that fit like they'd been molded to her feet. As she dressed, fragments of memory started flickering back like a strobe light in the dark. The airport. Not just the lounge. Before that, she'd been at baggage claim. Her suitcase hadn't come through. She'd been standing there, exhausted, terrified, checking her phone every 30 seconds. And then she'd seen him. Marcus, 50 feet away, talking to a Russian customs officer, his hand resting on something in his jacket. A gun. Her heart had stopped. He'd found her. After everything, changing her flight 3 times, buying a ticket to Shanghai when she was really going to Beijing, maxing out her credit cards on last-minute changes, he'd found her. Daniella pressed her palms against the closet wall, forcing herself to breathe. Through the memory, what had she done next? She'd run, sprinted through the terminal like her life depended on it because it did. Past duty-free shops, past food courts, past families and businessmen and normal people living normal lives. She'd seen the lounge entrance, first class, executive access. The kind of place Marcus wouldn't think to look because she'd never had money for places like that. She'd talked her way past security, lied about losing her boarding pass, flashed her brightest smile and thickest Georgia accent until they'd let her through just to stop her from making a scene. And inside, she'd seen him, Leonid, sitting alone in a corner, drinking vodka like it was water, his attention on a laptop screen. Even then, she'd known he was dangerous. You didn't develop instincts for violent men without learning to spot them at a distance. But he'd been her only option. The memory sharpened. She'd approached his table, her hands shaking, her voice barely above a whisper. "Excuse me, I'm sorry to bother you, but I need help." He'd looked up. Those ice-blue eyes had tracked from her face to her trembling hands to the way she kept glancing at the lounge entrance. What kind of help? His Russian accent had been thicker then, or maybe she'd been too panicked to process it properly. The kind that keeps me alive for the next 24 hours. Something had shifted in his expression. Interest, maybe? Or recognition. Like he'd seen desperation before and knew exactly what it looked like. "Sit down," he'd said, "and tell me who wants you dead." Daniella yanked herself back to the present. She was dressed, her cornrows still neat, her reflection in the mirror looking like someone else entirely. Someone who married mob bosses to survive. Someone who ran halfway across the world and still couldn't escape. She found Leonid in what she assumed was his office. Dark wood, leather furniture, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves filled with volumes in Russian and English. He stood at the window, phone pressed to his ear, speaking rapid-fire Russian. When he saw her, he ended the call. "Better," he said, his gaze sweeping over her. "You look less like a hostage." "I am a hostage." She crossed her arms over her chest. "You said it yourself. I can't leave. The Americans are coming. I'm trapped." "Trapped" implies you had better options. He poured 2 glasses of something amber and offered her one. "You had none. That's why you married me." She didn't take the glass. "I need to understand what happened. All of it. No more gaps." Leonid set both glasses down and leaned against his desk, arms crossed. The casual posture didn't fool her. He was coiled tension. Violence on a leash. "You approached me in the lounge," he said. "Told me your ex-boyfriend was FBI, that he'd been stalking you for 6 months since you broke up, that the restraining order did nothing because his colleagues protected him. You said he'd found you at the airport and you had nowhere to run. And you just believed me?" "No." His mouth curved into something cold. "I had you investigated. Took my men 40 minutes to pull your entire life. Daniella Marie Carter, 28 years old. Art curator at a gallery in Brooklyn. Father died in Afghanistan when you were 12. Mother raised you alone in Atlanta. Full scholarship to NYU. Dated Marcus Chen for 2 years before filing a restraining order 8 months ago, citing emotional abuse and stalking." Hearing her life summarized like a police report made her skin crawl. "You did all that in 40 minutes? I told you, I'm thorough." He pushed off the desk. "Marcus Chen, FBI special agent, 32 years old, decorated record, multiple commendations, also multiple complaints from ex-girlfriends that were buried by his superiors. You weren't his first victim, Daniella. Just his most persistent." Her stomach twisted. "What do you mean?" "The 2 women before you both left the country. One to Canada, one to Australia. He didn't follow them. But you—" Leonid's eyes narrowed. "You must have gotten under his skin, because he followed you to Moscow. Bought a ticket on the same flight. Cleared it with his department as an investigation into Bratva activity. He used his job to hunt me." The words tasted like ash. "Yes." Leonid moved closer, close enough that she had to tilt her head back to maintain eye contact. "So when you begged me to marry you, when you said it was the only way to keep him from dragging you back to America, I said yes. Why?" Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Why would you help me? You don't know me. You gain nothing. His jaw tightened. I watched him corner you at baggage claim, watched you see him and run, watched the fear on your face. Something flickered in his ice-blue eyes. My mother was killed by a man who claimed to love her. I was 8 years old. I watched him beat her to death in our kitchen while I hid in a closet. The air left Daniella's lungs. I don't help everyone, Leonid continued, his voice flat, emotionless. But I don't ignore women running from men like that. Ever. For a moment, neither of them moved. The snow fell outside the windows, Moscow sprawling cold and indifferent below them. Two broken people standing in a room full of expensive things that couldn't fix what was wrong. I'm sorry, Daniella said finally, about your mother. Don't be. His mask slipped back into place. It made me what I am, and what I am kept you alive. Her phone buzzed. They both looked at it. Marcus. 5 hours. Hope you're saying goodbye to your husband. Leonid's expression went arctic. Get your things. We're leaving now. Wait. Daniella grabbed his arm without thinking. His muscles tensed under her touch, but he didn't pull away. You said we had to make them believe the marriage is real. How do we do that? Press conference. Russian media. We announce our marriage publicly, show united front, make it impossible for the Americans to claim kidnapping. He looked down at her hand on his arm. But there's a problem. What problem? Your ex-boyfriend isn't working alone. Leonid pulled out his phone, showed her a photo. 2 men in suits, Russian features, dead eyes. These men were at the airport, FSB, Russian intelligence. Someone paid them to track you. Daniella's blood ran cold. Marcus paid Russian intelligence? No. Leonid's voice dropped. Someone else wants you. Someone who knew you'd run to me. Someone who's been waiting for exactly this moment. Who? Before he could answer, the office door exploded inward. A man stumbled through, blood streaming from a cut above his eye, his suit torn. He collapsed against the doorframe, gasping. Leonid. The man's voice was raw. They hit the East Wing. Alexei's dead. The Italians. They know about her? Daniella's heart stopped. What Italians? Leonid was already moving, pulling a gun from his desk drawer with practiced ease. Enzo Vitale, my biggest rival. He's been trying to take my territory for 3 years. He turned to her, his face carved from ice. And he just declared war. Glass shattered somewhere in the building. Alarms screamed. Men shouted in Russian. Leonid grabbed Daniella's hand. Run! They ran. The hallway was chaos. Men in black suits sprinting past them, weapons drawn. Smoke filled the air, acrid and choking. Daniella's boots slipped on marble floors as Leonid dragged her toward a steel door at the end of the corridor. What's happening? She could barely hear herself over the alarms. Enzo made a deal with your ex-boyfriend. Leonid punched a code into the door panel. Marcus provides information about you. Enzo attacks during the chaos. They both get what they want. What do they want? The door opened to a stairwell. Leonid pulled her inside, his body between her and whatever was coming. You, he said. They want you. Gunfire erupted above them. Daniella's scream caught in her throat as Leonid shoved her against the wall, his body covering hers. Bullets sparked off metal railings. Men were dying floors above them. And all she could think was that she'd done this. She'd brought this violence into his world by asking for help. I'm sorry, she gasped. I'm so sorry, I didn't know. Stop. Leonid's hand cupped her face, forcing her to look at him. You did what you had to do to survive. That's not weakness. That's war. Another explosion. Closer this time. The building shook. We need to move. He grabbed her hand again. Can you keep up? Daniella thought about Marcus, about running her whole life, about every time she'd been afraid and chosen to survive anyway. Yes, she said. I can keep up. They descended into darkness, into whatever came next, together. The stairwell ended in a basement parking garage that smelled like oil and concrete. Leonid's hand was still wrapped around Daniella's wrist as he pulled her toward a black SUV with tinted windows. Above them, the building groaned like a dying animal. More gunfire. More screams. Get in! He shoved her toward the passenger side, already moving to the driver's seat. Daniella's hand shook as she yanked the door open. Where are we going? Anywhere but here. The engine roared to life. Leonid's phone was pressed between his ear and shoulder as he threw the vehicle into drive. Maxime, I need a location. Now. Yes, both of them. No, she's with me. The SUV launched forward. Daniella grabbed the dashboard as they careened around corners, tires squealing. Behind them, an explosion lit up the garage entrance in orange and black. The shockwave hit them a second later, rocking the vehicle. They bombed your building. Her voice didn't sound like hers. They actually bombed it. Enzo doesn't negotiate. Leonid's eyes were locked on the rearview mirror. He takes what he wants or destroys it. They burst out of the garage into Moscow streets. Snow fell thick and fast, turning the city into a blur of white and gray. Leonid drove like he fought. Efficient, brutal, no wasted movement. Cars swerved out of their way. Pedestrians scattered. Daniella's phone buzzed in her pocket. She didn't need to check it. She knew who it was. He's watching, she said. Somehow, Marcus is watching everything. Not for long. Leonid took a hard left, the SUV fishtailing on ice before finding traction. Maxime is tracking his phone. When I find him, this ends. You can't kill an FBI agent. His laugh was cold. You think that badge protects him here? This is Moscow. American law means nothing. They drove in silence for 10 minutes, weaving through traffic, taking random turns. Finally, Leonid pulled into an underground garage beneath a building that looked abandoned. Graffiti covered the walls. No security cameras, no witnesses. He killed the engine. Neither of them moved. We need to talk, Leonid said finally, about what happens next. Daniella turned to face him. In the dim garage lighting, his face was all sharp angles and shadows, dangerous and beautiful in equal measure. What is there to talk about? We run until they find us. Then we die. No. His ice-blue eyes locked onto hers. We have two options. We annul the marriage. I put you on a plane to somewhere Marcus can't follow. China, maybe. Or South America. Somewhere you can disappear. Her heart clenched. Or we make them believe this marriage is real. He shifted in his seat to face her fully. We go public. Press conference, photos, the whole performance. We make you so visible, so protected, that Marcus can't touch you without starting an international incident. And Enzo? Enzo I handle. His jaw tightened. But you need to understand what you're signing up for. If we do this, if we commit to this lie, you're in my world, the Bratva world. Enemies will use you to get to me. Every day will be dangerous. Every smile will be a weapon. Every moment will be calculated. Daniella looked down at the ring on her finger. The diamond caught the garage's fluorescent lighting, throwing fractured rainbows across her dark skin. 24 hours ago, her biggest problem had been a creepy ex-boyfriend and a job that didn't pay enough. Now she was sitting in an abandoned garage with a Russian mob boss, discussing whether to fake a marriage or flee the country. If I run, she said slowly, Marcus will find me eventually. He always does. He found me in Moscow. He'll find me in Shanghai or Buenos Aires or wherever I go. Maybe. No, maybe. She looked up, met his eyes. He's obsessed. He won't stop until I'm dead or I'm his. Those are the only two options he'll accept. Leonid was quiet for a moment. And if you stay with me, pretend to be my wife, you think that's better? I think it's the only option where I stop running, Her voice steadied. I'm tired, Leonid. I'm so tired of being afraid, of looking over my shoulder, of changing my name and my city and my whole life, because some man decided I belong to him. This won't be easy. Nothing about my life has been easy. She touched the ring again, felt its weight. What would it require, if we did this? Leonid leaned back in his seat, studying her. You'd live in my penthouse. Different building. The other one isn't safe anymore. We'd need to be seen together. Restaurants, events, places where we'd be photographed. You'd need to learn some Russian. Basic phrases. Enough to convince people you're trying. I already speak some Russian. At his raised eyebrow, she continued. My roommate in college was from St. Petersburg. She taught me. Something almost like approval flickered in his expression. Good, that helps. He pulled out his phone, opened a document, handed it to her. These are the terms. Read them. Daniella took the phone. The document was in English, clearly prepared by a lawyer. She scanned the bullet points, her heart racing. Separate bedrooms. No physical intimacy required. Freedom to leave the penthouse with security escort. Access to her own bank account. Weekly allowance. The marriage would last 1 year. Then quiet divorce. No questions asked. She could return to America with new identity documents. Clean slate. Witness protection level disappearance. You had this prepared. She looked up at him. Before the attack. Before any of this. I prepare for every contingency. His voice was matter-of-fact. You're not the first person who's needed to disappear. But you are the first person I've married to do it. Why? The question burst out before she could stop it. Why go this far? You could have just hidden me, given me money, put me on a plane. Why marriage? Leonid was silent for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, because marriage is permanent in ways other arrangements aren't. In Russian culture, in Bratva culture, a wife is sacred, untouchable. To harm a Pakan's wife is to declare war on his entire organization. It's the only protection that matters. But I'm not really your wife. They don't know that. He gestured to the phone. If you sign, if you commit to this, you become the most protected woman in Moscow. Marcus can't touch you. Enzo can't touch you. The FSB can't touch you. Because touching you means going through me and every man loyal to me. Daniella stared at the document. 1 year. 12 months of pretending to be married to a man who killed people for a living. 12 months of danger and lies, and living in a world she didn't understand. Or a lifetime of running. I have conditions, she said. Name them. First, I want to know everything. Who you are, what you do, what I'm walking into. No lies, no protection from the truth. If I'm going to survive in your world, I need to understand it. Agreed. Second, I'm not a prisoner. I know you said I could leave with security, but I mean it. I want to work. I want to go to museums, galleries, normal places. I won't be locked in a golden cage. Agreed, with security. He held up a hand before she could protest. Non-negotiable. Enzo has already proven he'll attack. You go nowhere alone. She nodded. Third, if at any point I want out, if this becomes too dangerous or too much, you let me go. No questions, no guilt. Just help me disappear like you promised. Agreed. And fourth? She met his eyes. You tell me the truth about what you want from this. Because nobody helps for free. Nobody risks their life and organization for a stranger unless they're getting something. So what is it? What do you really want? Leonid's jaw tightened. For a moment she thought he'd shut down, put the mask back in place, refused to answer. Then he leaned forward, his elbows on his knees, close enough that she could see the scar tissue around his left eye, the permanent weariness in his expression. Legitimacy, he said quietly. The Bratva has enemies everywhere. Russian government, rival organizations, international law enforcement. We operate in shadows, and that makes us vulnerable. But a married Pakan, with a beautiful, educated American wife, that's different. That's respectability. That's the kind of image that makes politicians think twice before moving against me. I'm a prop. The words stung more than they should have. You're a partnership. He held her gaze. I protect you from Marcus. You give me a reason to look human instead of monster. We both survive. That's the deal. Honest. Brutal. No romance, no pretense. Just two people making a calculated arrangement to stay alive. Daniella looked at the document again. All those terms and conditions and carefully worded clauses. A year of her life in exchange for freedom she'd never had. Safety she'd never known. She touched her cornrows, felt the familiar pattern against her scalp. Her mother had taught her to braid when she was 8 years old, had told her that black women had used braids to map escape routes during slavery. That every pattern was a message, that survival was in their blood. Where do I sign? She asked. Leonid's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. Relief, maybe, or respect. He pulled out a pen, handed it to her. Daniella Marie Carter signed her name on the digital document, made it official, made it real. Now what? She asked. Leonid took the phone back, sent the document somewhere, then looked at her with an expression she couldn't read. Now we go to war, he said, together. His phone rang. He answered in rapid Russian, his expression darkening with every word. When he hung up, his face was carved from ice. That was Maxim. He found Marcus. Leonid started the engine. And Marcus just checked into a hotel 3 blocks from the American embassy. He's making his move. Yes. The SUV roared to life. We have 4 hours until he meets with the ambassador. 4 hours to prove you're here willingly or lose everything. Daniella's hands clenched into fists. Then let's prove it. They drove back into the snow, into the war, into whatever came next. The new penthouse was a fortress disguised as luxury. Bulletproof windows, reinforced steel doors, armed guards on every floor. Daniella stood in the center of the living room while men in black suits moved around her like shadows, setting up equipment, checking sightlines, speaking in clipped Russian. Leonid appeared from another room, phone still pressed to his ear. When he ended the call, his expression was granite. Press conferences in 2 hours, Russian media, international outlets. We tell our story before Marcus tells his. What story? Daniella's heart hammered. What do we say? The truth, mostly. He moved to a laptop on the dining table, turned it toward her. You were fleeing an abusive ex-boyfriend. We met at the airport. It was love at first sight. We married quickly because when you know, you know. Nobody will believe that. They don't have to believe it. They just have to report it. Leonid pulled up photos on the screen. Airport security footage, her approaching his table, them talking, her crying, him touching her hand. The images tell a story. We just give them the narrative. Daniella studied the photos. In every frame she looked terrified, and in every frame Leonid looked protective. His body angled toward hers, his hand steady on hers, his eyes never leaving her face. It almost looks real, she whispered. That's why it will work. He closed the laptop. But we need to sell it. At the press conference, you need to look at me like I'm not a criminal. Like I'm your husband. You are my husband. The words felt strange in her mouth. Legally. Legally isn't enough. You need to look at me like you chose this, like you wanted this. His ice blue eyes locked onto hers. Can you do that? Daniella thought about every acting class she'd taken in college. Every presentation she'd given at the gallery where she'd had to pretend mediocre art was brilliant. Every smile she'd forced when Marcus had introduced her to his FBI colleagues as his girl. "I can do that," she said. A woman entered carrying garment bags. "For you, Mrs. Morozov. Mr. Morozov said you'd need something appropriate." Mrs. Morozov. The name landed like a punch. The woman, Anna, she introduced herself, led Daniella to a bedroom suite. Inside the garment bags were designer dresses, elegant, powerful, the kind of clothes that commanded attention. Anna laid out options while Daniella stood frozen. "The emerald," Anna said in accented English. "It will complement your skin beautifully, and it matches Mr. Morozov's eyes." Daniella touched the fabric, silk that felt like water. "You've done this before. Helped women dress for these performances." Anna's expression didn't change. "I help Mrs. Morozov look like herself. Nothing more." The dress fit perfectly. Of course it did. Leonid was thorough. Anna styled her cornrows into an elegant updo, applied makeup that enhanced rather than hid, gave her jewelry that probably cost more than her student loans. When Daniella looked in the mirror, she barely recognized herself. She looked expensive, confident, like someone who'd chosen to marry Moscow's most dangerous man, like someone who belonged in his world. A knock on the door. Leonid's voice. "We need to leave in 20 minutes. Anna opened the door. Leonid stood in the doorway in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than a car. His hair was swept back, his scar visible, his presence filling the entire room. When his eyes landed on Daniella, something flickered in his expression. Surprise? Maybe. Or approval. "You look—" He stopped, started again. "You look beautiful. I look like your wife." She turned away from the mirror. "That's the point." His jaw tightened. "Anna, give us a moment." Anna disappeared. The door closed. Silence stretched between them like a blade. "I know this is difficult," Leonid said finally. "Pretending, performing for cameras. But it's necessary." "I know." Daniella smoothed the silk dress over her curvy hips. "I agreed to this. I signed the contract. I'll do my part." "It's more than your part I'm worried about." He moved closer, close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive and cold. "At the press conference, Marcus might be there, or his people. They'll try to provoke you, make you slip, show fear or anger or anything that suggests you don't want to be here. I won't slip. If they ask about him directly, I'll say he's a dangerous man who couldn't accept rejection, that you saved me, that I'm grateful." She met his eyes. "I'll say whatever needs to be said." Leonid studied her face like he was reading a map. "You're stronger than you look." "I have to be." She adjusted her jewelry, a nervous habit. "Black women don't get to be weak. We don't get to fall apart. We survive or we die. Those are the options." Something shifted in his expression. Understanding, maybe. Or kinship. "My mother used to say something similar. That strength wasn't a choice. It was survival." She was right. His phone buzzed. He checked it, his face going cold. "Maxime says there's movement. 3 cars heading toward the press venue. Could be Marcus. Could be Enzo. Or both." "Yes." He looked at her, really looked at her. "Last chance. We can still run. Put you on a plane. Give you a new life somewhere else." Daniella thought about her whole life, running from her father's memory, running from poverty, running from Marcus. Always running, never staying, never fighting back. "No more running," she said. "Whatever happens at that press conference, we face it." Leonid's hand moved like he might touch her face, then stopped. "Then let's go to war." The press venue was a hotel ballroom. Cameras everywhere. Reporters shouting questions in multiple languages, security trying to maintain order. Leonid's hand was on Daniella's lower back as they entered, guiding her through the chaos. His touch was warm through the silk, steady, grounding. They reached the podium. Lights blinded her. Cameras clicked like automatic weapons. Leonid stepped forward, and somehow the room quieted. He had that kind of presence, the kind that demanded attention without asking. "Thank you for coming." His English was perfect, his accent just thick enough to be charming. "I have an announcement that I hope will clear up recent confusion." He turned, extended his hand. Daniella took it, let him pull her forward into the lights. "This is my wife, Daniella Morozov. We married 2 days ago here in Moscow. It was a private ceremony, witnessed by Russian officials, completely legal and completely voluntary." Questions exploded. Reporters surged forward. Security held them back. Is it true she was fleeing the United States? How did you meet? What about allegations of kidnapping? Leonid raised his hand. Silence crashed down like a hammer. "My wife will answer your questions." He stepped back, giving her the podium, the lights, the attention. Daniella's hands gripped the wood. Every instinct screamed to run, but she'd made a promise. No more running. "I met Leonid at the airport," she said, her voice steady. "I was in a difficult situation. My ex-boyfriend had been stalking me for months. I had a restraining order, but he ignored it. He followed me to Moscow. I was terrified." "And Mr. Morozov helped you?" a reporter called out. "He offered me protection. He offered me a way out. And yes, we fell in love quickly. It happens." She glanced at Leonid, found his ice-blue eyes already on her. When someone saves your life, when someone sees you at your worst and doesn't run, that means something. More questions, more noise. Then a voice cut through, American accent, sharp as a knife. "Daniella, this is Agent Marcus Chen with the FBI. I need you to confirm you're here of your own free will." The room went silent. Daniella's eyes found him in the crowd. Marcus, in his FBI jacket, his badge visible, his expression concerned like he was the hero. Like he hadn't spent 6 months terrorizing her. Like he hadn't followed her halfway across the world. Leonid's hand found hers under the podium. Squeezed once. A reminder. "You're not alone." "Agent Chen." Her voice didn't shake, didn't waver. "I'm here by choice. I'm married by choice. And I'm asking you, officially and publicly, to leave me alone." Marcus's face hardened. "You're being coerced. I can see it. These people are my family now." She squeezed Leonid's hand back. "You need to accept that I don't want you. I never wanted you. I wanted safety. I wanted freedom. And I found both with my husband." Cameras exploded with clicks. Reporters shouted. Marcus's expression went from concern to furious in a heartbeat. "You'll regret this," he called out, his voice cutting through the noise. "When you realize what he is, what he does, you'll regret." The explosion cut him off. The world turned to fire and sound and chaos. Windows shattered inward. Bodies hit the floor. Someone screamed. Daniella felt herself falling, felt Leonid's arms wrap around her, felt them hit the ground together with his body covering hers. Gunfire erupted. Short bursts. Professional. Deadly. "Stay down." Leonid's voice in her ear. "Don't move." But she could see through the smoke, could see men in masks pouring through the broken windows, could see Marcus using the chaos to pull out a gun, could see him aim it directly at her. "Leonid!" She shoved him aside as Marcus fired. The bullet missed by inches. Leonid rolled, came up with his own gun in one fluid motion and fired twice. Marcus went down clutching his shoulder. Then Leonid was moving, not away from the danger, toward it, toward the masked men who'd bombed his press conference. His movements were brutal poetry, efficient, lethal, beautiful in the worst way. Daniella watched her husband become a monster to save her life. And she wasn't afraid. She was furious. A gun lay 3 feet away, fallen from a guard's hand. She crawled toward it, her emerald dress dragging through broken glass and blood. Grabbed it, felt its weight, remembered her father's lessons. Breathe, aim, squeeze. A man in a mask lunged toward Leonid's blind spot. Daniella didn't think. She fired. The man went down. Leonid's head snapped toward her. Their eyes met across the chaos. His expression said everything. Shock, pride, something deeper. Then more men came, and they fought back to back in a ballroom-turned battlefield. Security flooded in. The masked men retreated. Sirens screamed outside. Leonid grabbed Daniella's hand and pulled her toward a side exit, through hallways filled with panicked hotel guests, out into the Moscow night. They burst into the street. Snow fell onto smoke and blood and silk. Leonid's SUV waited at the curb, engine running. They threw themselves inside. Leonid drove like hell itself was chasing them. Neither spoke for 5 blocks. Finally, Daniella looked down at her hands, at the gun she still held, at the blood on her dress that wasn't hers. "I killed someone," she whispered. "You saved my life." Leonid's voice was rough, raw. "You could have run. You should have run. But you stayed and you fought and you saved me. I didn't think. You survived." He glanced at her, his ice blue eyes fierce. "That's what warriors do." Daniella started laughing. Couldn't stop. The kind of laughter that comes after trauma, after adrenaline, after everything falls apart and somehow you're still breathing. "Warriors," she gasped. "I'm an art curator from Brooklyn. You're a Morozov now." He reached across the console, took her hand. "And Morozovs don't break." The laughter died. She stared at their joined hands, his scarred and steady, hers shaking and stained with someone else's blood. "What happens now?" she asked. Leonid's expression went dark. "Now Marcus knows you're not going back, and Enzo knows I'm willing to burn Moscow to protect you." He squeezed her hand. "So now we prepare for the real war." His phone rang. He answered in Russian, his expression darkening with every word. When he hung up, he looked at her with something like regret. "That was the hospital. Marcus survived. He's already demanding extradition." "Of course he did." "And Enzo left a message." Leonid's jaw clenched. "He wants a meeting. Tomorrow. Neutral ground. Just us." "It's a trap." "Obviously." He turned the wheel hard, taking them into Moscow's underworld. "But we're going anyway." Drop a comment about the craziest thing that happened in this batch, and smash that subscribe button. This war is just beginning. They didn't go back to the penthouse. Leonid drove them to a safe house on the outskirts of Moscow, a converted warehouse surrounded by snow and silence. No neighbors, no witnesses. Just concrete walls and the ghosts of whatever had happened here before. Daniella stepped out of the SUV, her emerald dress torn and blood-stained, her updo falling apart, cornrows coming loose. The adrenaline was wearing off, leaving her hollow and shaking. Inside. Leonid's hand on her lower back again. Guiding. Always guiding. The warehouse interior was sparse. Minimal furniture, weapons locked in cases along the walls, a single bedroom in the back. Leonid locked the door behind them with 3 separate bolts. "We're safe here," he said. "For tonight at least." Daniella stood in the center of the room, staring at her hands. The gun was gone. Leonid had taken it from her in the car. But she could still feel its weight, could still feel the recoil, could still see the man falling. "I need to wash this off." Her voice sounded distant. Not hers. "The blood, I need..." "Bathroom's through there." Leonid pointed. "I'll find you something clean to wear." The bathroom was industrial. Concrete floors, exposed pipes, a shower that looked like it belonged in a prison. Daniella turned the water as hot as it would go and stepped under the spray fully dressed. Watched the blood and smoke and glass wash away down the drain. Watched the emerald silk cling to her curves before she peeled it off, leaving it in a ruined heap on the floor. She scrubbed until her skin was raw, until she couldn't smell gunpowder anymore, until her hands stopped shaking. When she finally emerged, wrapped in a towel with her cornrows dripping down her back, Leonid was sitting on the edge of a table, staring at nothing. He'd removed his jacket and tie. His white shirt had blood on it. Not his blood, someone else's. "I left clothes on the bed," he said without looking at her. "They'll be too big, but they're clean." "Thank you." She moved toward the bedroom, then stopped. "Leonid?" "Yes?" "That man I shot. Is he dead?" Silence stretched between them like a wire pulled taut. "Yes," Leonid said finally. "He's dead." Daniella nodded. Felt nothing. Felt everything. Felt like she was breaking into pieces too small to put back together. She went into the bedroom and closed the door. The clothes were men's. Sweatpants and a t-shirt that hung off her frame. But they were soft and warm and didn't smell like death. She pulled her cornrows into a loose braid and sat on the edge of the bed, staring at her hands again. I killed someone. The thought kept circling, relentless. I killed someone and I don't regret it. That was the part that scared her. Not the killing, the lack of regret, the way her hands had been steady on the trigger. The way she'd watched him fall and felt only relief that Leonid was still standing. What did that make her? A knock on the door. "Daniella, can I come in?" "Yes." Leonid entered carrying 2 glasses and a bottle of vodka. He'd changed into dark clothes, washed the blood off his hands, but his face looked tired, older, like he'd lived a year in the last 4 hours. "You should drink this." He handed her a glass, already poured. "It helps with the shaking." She took it. Drank. The vodka burned all the way down, grounding her back in her body. "Is this what you do? After every fight? Drink until you forget?" "I never forget." He sat beside her on the bed, close enough that their thighs touched. "Every face, every name, every person I've killed. They're all still here." He tapped his temple. "Forgetting would be easier, but it would also make me a monster." "You are a monster." The words came out softer than she intended. Not an accusation, just a fact. "Yes." He didn't flinch, didn't defend himself. "I am. I've done terrible things to terrible people. I've built an empire on violence and fear. I won't lie to you about that. But you saved me. Saving you was selfish." His ice blue eyes met hers. "I told you. I needed legitimacy. A wife. A reason to look human. That's not why you saved me." Daniella set her glass down, turned to face him fully. "You saved me because of your mother. Because you couldn't save her. So you save women like her instead. Like me." His jaw clenched. "Don't psychoanalyze me." "Why not? You had me investigated. You know everything about me. My father. My childhood. My dreams. You know I wanted to open my own gallery someday. That I collect vintage records. That I cry during sad movies." Her voice rose. "You know everything, Leonid. So why can't I know you?" "Because knowing me puts you in danger." "I'm already in danger." She stood up, pacing, the 2 big sweatpants sliding down her hips. "Marcus wants me dead. Enzo wants me dead. The FBI probably wants me dead at this point. I fought in a ballroom today. I killed a man. I'm already in the deepest danger possible, so don't you dare tell me you're protecting me by keeping secrets." Leonid stood too, his presence filling the room. "You want to know who I am? Fine. I'm the man who killed his first person at 16. I'm the man who took over his father's empire by eliminating everyone who challenged him. I'm the man who survived 23 assassination attempts and left 23 bodies in his wake. He moved closer, towering over her. I'm the man who's been in love with you since I watched you defend that hotel employee at the airport lounge. Daniella's breath stopped. What? Before you approached my table, before you asked for help, I saw you argue with a supervisor who was screaming at a maid for a minor mistake. You got in his face, told him to back off, threatened to call security on him. Leonid's voice dropped. Everyone else in that lounge ignored it, pretended they didn't see. But you? You couldn't walk away from someone being hurt. That's not love, her heart hammered. That's just noticing someone. I watched you for an hour before you even knew I existed. Watched you pace, check your phone, look over your shoulder. I already knew someone was hunting you, could see it in every movement. He reached up, tucked a loose braid behind her ear. And then you approached me, desperate, terrified, asking me to save you. And I knew I'd do anything, not for legitimacy, not for my image, for you. You're lying, but her voice shook. You're manipulating me, making me feel... Feel what? He cupped her face, his hands rough and warm. Feel something for the monster who married you? The criminal who dragged you into a war? Stop calling yourself that. Tears burned her eyes. You're not just a monster. Monsters don't feel guilt. They don't remember faces. They don't save women from abusive ex-boyfriends. Then what am I? You're broken. She put her hands over his, holding them against her face. Just like me. Just like everyone who survived things they shouldn't have survived. Leonid's forehead dropped to hers. His breath was warm against her lips. I'm sorry. For all of this. For the danger. For the violence. For making you kill someone today. I'm not. The words surprised her. I'm not sorry. Because if I hadn't been there, you'd be dead. And Her voice broke. I can't lose you. I know that's insane. I know we've only known each other for 2 days. But I can't lose you. Daniella. She kissed him. Cut off. Whatever he was going to say, whatever argument or warning or reason they shouldn't do this, kissed him like she was drowning and he was air. Like they hadn't just survived an assassination attempt. Like they were just two broken people trying to feel something real. Leonid froze for half a second. Then his hand slid into her damp cornrows and he kissed her back with a desperation that matched her own. Not gentle, not careful. Raw and real and exactly what they both needed. They broke apart, breathing hard. We can't. Leonid's voice was rough. The contract. I promised you separate bedrooms. No physical intimacy, I won't. Screw the contract. Daniella's hands fisted in his shirt. I'm tired of rules. Tired of contracts. Tired of pretending. I want this. I want you. Not because you saved me. Not because you're protecting me. Because you're the first person in my life who's been honest about what they are and what they want. What I want will destroy you. What you want is the only thing keeping me alive. She pulled him closer. So stop being noble and kiss me again. He did. This time there was no hesitation, no holding back. Just two people who'd stared death in the face and chose each other anyway. When they finally pulled apart again, Leonid rested his forehead against hers. This changes everything. I know. If this becomes real, if we stop pretending, you become the most valuable target in Moscow. Every enemy I have will come for you. They're already coming for me. Daniella's hands moved to his face, tracing the scar above his eye. At least this way, I'm choosing it. Choosing you. Choosing this. Leonid pulled back enough to look at her. Really look at her. You're sure? The only thing I'm sure about right now is that I don't want to die wondering what this could have been. She kissed him softly. Once. Twice. So yes, I'm sure. His phone shattered the moment, buzzing angry and insistent on the table. Leonid cursed in Russian, pulled away, checked the screen. His expression went from soft to lethal in a heartbeat. What is it? Daniella asked. Marcus. Leonid turned the phone toward her. He's holding a press conference from his hospital bed, right now. They found a laptop, pulled up the live stream. Marcus sat propped against pillows, his shoulder bandaged, his expression painted with concern and determination. I'm speaking today to warn others about the dangers of the Russian Bratva, Marcus said directly into the camera. Daniella Carter was a victim, coerced into marriage with a known criminal, and despite her statement today, I know she's being held against her will. He's lying, Daniella breathed. He knows I chose this. He's creating reasonable doubt. Leonid's voice was ice, making it impossible for the U.S. to ignore. Tomorrow's meeting with Enzo just became infinitely more dangerous. On the screen, Marcus continued. I'm calling on the Russian government and international authorities to investigate Leonid Morozov, to rescue Daniella Carter, and to shut down the Bratva once and for all. Tomorrow's meeting is definitely a trap now, Leonid said quietly. Enzo will have backup. Marcus will have FBI surveillance. They're coordinating to take me down. Then don't go. Daniella grabbed his arm. Call it off. Find another way. There is no other way. He turned to face her, his expression carved from stone. I go to that meeting or we spend the rest of our lives running. And I told you, I don't run. Then I'm coming with you. Absolutely not. You don't get to decide that. She stood her ground. I'm your wife, real or not, and I'm not letting you walk into an ambush alone. Daniella. No. She crossed her arms over her chest. You said it yourself. This became real. Which means we're partners. Which means I fight beside you or not at all. Leonid stared at her like he was seeing someone completely different from the terrified woman at the airport lounge. You understand what you're asking? Tomorrow could end with both of us dead. Then at least we die together. She moved closer, took his hands. I'm done being protected, Leonid. I'm done hiding. Whatever happens tomorrow, we face it as partners, as equals, as husband and wife. His eyes searched her face, looking for doubt, for fear, for any sign she didn't mean it. He found none. You're not what I expected, he said quietly. Neither are you. She kissed him once more, softly. So let's go show them exactly what happens when they threaten a Morozov. Leonid pulled her close, held her like she was the only thing keeping him grounded. Tomorrow we go to war. Together, she whispered against his chest. Together. Outside, the snow fell harder. Moscow slept, unaware that tomorrow the Bratva would make its stand, and a girl from Brooklyn would fight beside the most dangerous man in Russia, because she'd stopped running and started fighting back. The meeting location was neutral ground, an abandoned factory on the Moscow River, halfway between Bratva territory and Enzo's domain. Dawn broke gray and cold as Leonid's convoy pulled up. 3 SUVs, 12 armed men, and Daniella in a bulletproof vest under a black coat. Last chance, Leonid said, his hand on her knee. You can stay in the car with Maxim. No one would blame you. I'm not staying in the car. Daniella checked the gun in her coat pocket. Leonid had taught her to load it properly last night, between kisses and quiet confessions. We're partners, remember? His ice blue eyes held hers. Partners. They stepped out into the frozen morning. Enzo Vitale waited by the factory entrance, tall, dark-haired Italian features, surrounded by his own men. And beside him, leaning on a cane, shoulder bandaged, but eyes burning with hatred, Marcus Chen. You brought him. Daniella's voice was steel. You actually brought him. He made me an interesting offer. Enzo's accent was thick, amused. Give him the girl, he gives me your territories. Simple business. She's my wife. Leonid's hand found Daniella's. Not a bargaining chip. Wife. Marcus laughed, the sound broken and bitter. You really think she chose you? She's terrified, Leonid. She'd say anything to survive. I know her. I loved her. She's mine. I was never yours. Daniella stepped forward before Leonid could stop her. You don't own me, Marcus. You never did. You just convinced yourself you did. Marcus's expression twisted. I gave you everything. I protected you. I loved you. You stalked me. You threatened me. You followed me across the world. Her voice rose, steady and furious. That's not love. That's obsession. And I'm done being afraid of you. You should be afraid. Marcus pulled out his phone, held it up. One call and I have the FBI raiding this location. One call and you're both under arrest. Make the call. Leonid's voice was arctic. See what happens. You're bluffing. Am I? Leonid nodded to Maxime, who held up his own phone. That's a live feed of your apartment in New York. Your real apartment, not the one you claim on official documents. The one with evidence of every woman you've stalked, every file you've built, every law you've broken. Marcus's face went pale. You can't. I already did. One word from me, and that footage goes to every news outlet in America. Your career ends. Your life ends. You become the monster everyone knows you are. Leonid stepped closer. Or you walk away. Forget Daniella exists. Forget Moscow exists. Go back to New York and pray I never hear your name again. I can't just... She's mine. She's no one's. Leonid's hand moved to his gun. Especially not yours. For a moment no one moved. The river flowed behind them, indifferent to human drama. Then Enzo laughed. This is beautiful. American FBI, Russian Bratva, all over one woman. He pulled out his own gun. But I didn't come here to watch you negotiate. I came here to take what's mine. Everything exploded at once. Enzo's men opened fire. Leonid's men returned it. Marcus dove for cover. Daniella felt Leonid shove her behind a concrete barrier, felt his body cover hers as bullets sparked off metal and stone. Stay down, Leonid shouted over the chaos. But Daniella could see through the barrier's gaps, could see Enzo moving toward them, using his men as shields, murder in his eyes. Could see Marcus circling around, his gun raised, his face twisted with rage. Leonid, behind you! He spun, fired, dropped one of Enzo's men, but more came. Too many. They were outnumbered. Daniella made a choice. She rolled out from behind the barrier, came up shooting. Her bullets found two men before they even saw her coming. Her father's training, muscle memory, survival instinct, all of it flooding back. Daniella, no! Leonid's roar. But she was already moving, ducking, weaving, fighting her way toward Marcus because this ended today. One way or another. Marcus saw her coming, his gun swung toward her. You chose this. You chose him over me. Now you die with him. He fired. The bullet grazed her arm, pain exploded white-hot. But Daniella didn't stop. Couldn't stop. She slammed into Marcus, knocked his gun away, both of them hitting the frozen ground hard. You ruined my life, Marcus screamed, his hands around her throat. I loved you and you threw it away for him. You never loved me. Daniella clawed at his hands, gasping. You just couldn't stand losing. Leonid appeared like vengeance itself, yanked Marcus off her, threw him against the wall with bone-crushing force, his gun pressed under Marcus's chin. Give me one reason. Leonid's voice was death itself. Why I shouldn't end you right here. Because I'm FBI. Marcus was crying now, pathetic and desperate. You kill me. You start a war with America. I don't care. Leonid cocked the gun. Wait. Daniella stood, clutching her bleeding arm. Don't kill him. Both men stared at her like she'd lost her mind. He's not worth it, she continued, moving closer. He's not worth the war, not worth the consequences, not worth becoming the monster he thinks you are. Daniella, let the FBI have him. She looked at Marcus, at the man who'd terrorized her for months and felt only pity. Let them see the evidence. Let them destroy him the way he tried to destroy me. That's worse than death. That's justice. Leonid held Marcus's gaze for a long, terrible moment. Then he lowered the gun. You heard my wife. The FBI can have what's left of you. He turned away. Marcus lunged. The knife came from nowhere. Marcus's last desperate attempt, aimed at Leonid's back. Daniella didn't think. Just moved. Threw herself between them. The knife sliced across her side. Not deep. Not fatal. But enough to send her to her knees. No. Leonid caught her as she fell. The gunshot was deafening. Marcus crumpled. Enzo stood behind where Marcus had been, his gun smoking, his expression cold. I came here for business, not FBI drama. He was becoming inconvenient. You killed him. Daniella stared at Marcus's body. Dead eyes. Gone. After everything. Gone. I killed a liability. Enzo holstered his gun. And now I'm leaving. This war is boring me. You want Moscow, Leonid? Keep it. But the girl? He looked at Daniella. She's more dangerous than 10 men. Keep her close, or she'll get you killed. Enzo's men retreated. Sirens wailed in the distance. Russian police, probably paid off by both sides, coming to clean up the mess. We need to go. Maxim appeared, blood on his face but alive. Now. Leonid lifted Daniella like she weighed nothing. Hold on, stay with me. I'm okay. She was. The knife wound was shallow. Nothing vital hit. I'm okay. They made it to the SUV as police arrived. Maxime drove like hell while Leonid pressed his jacket against her bleeding side. You're insane. His hands shook. You threw yourself in front of a knife for me. You would have done the same. That's different. Why? Because you're the man? Because you're the monster? She grabbed his face, forced him to look at her. I chose you, Leonid. I chose this life. Stop trying to protect me from my own choices. He kissed her, hard and desperate and grateful. Don't ever do that again. Can't promise that. Daniella. We're partners. Equals. That means we protect each other. Deal with it. Maxime glanced in the rearview mirror. Boss, we're clear. No one's following. Good. Take us to the safe house. Get a doctor. Leonid looked at Daniella's wound. And burn every piece of evidence linking Marcus to us. Already done, boss. Maxim grinned. His apartment's been wiped. FBI will find nothing but his stalking evidence. 3 months later, Daniella stood in her art gallery. Her gallery. The one Leonid had bought and renovated as a wedding gift. Real wedding gift, because 2 weeks ago, they'd gotten married again. This time by choice, with witnesses who weren't coerced, in a church that meant something. The gallery opening was tonight. Moscow's elite crowded the space, admiring pieces Daniella had curated from Russian and American artists, a bridge between worlds. Her world now. Leonid appeared at her side, devastating in a black suit, his hand finding her waist. You did it. Your dream. We did it. She leaned into him. I couldn't have done this without you. You could have. He kissed her temple. But I'm glad you didn't have to. A woman approached, tall, elegant, clearly important. Mrs. Morozov, this collection is extraordinary. I'd like to commission something for the Kremlin. I'd be honored. Daniella shook her hand, played the part, smiled the smile. When the woman left, she turned to Leonid. Did she just say the Kremlin? I told you. You're brilliant. People see it. Pride radiated from him. Even the ones who don't want to. That night, After the guests left and the gallery was quiet, they stood together looking at a painting Daniella had hung in the back room. Private. Not for sale. It showed two figures, one light, one dark, standing back to back against a storm. You painted this, Leonid said. Not a question. Last week, couldn't sleep. She traced the frame. It's us. What we are. Partners. Warriors, she corrected. Fighting the world together. His arms wrapped around her from behind, his chin on her shoulder. Any regrets? Daniella thought about everything. The fear, the violence, the blood, the choices that led her here. To Moscow. To him. To a life she never planned but somehow needed. Only that I didn't meet you sooner. Leonid turned her in his arms, kissed her like they had all the time in the world. Like Marcus was a ghost that couldn't touch them. Like Enzo was a problem solved. Like they were just two people in love, not a Bratva Pakan and his warrior wife. I love you, he said. Simple. True. No performance. I love you too. She kissed him back. My monster. Your monster. He smiled. Always. Outside, Moscow glittered in the darkness. Inside, two broken people had found something whole, not perfect, never perfect, but real. And in a world of lies and violence and pain, real was everything. They said Moscow winters were brutal, but Daniella had never felt warmer. If you believe every woman deserves to escape her abuser and find real love, hit that subscribe and like button. Because stories like Daniella's need to be told. Drop a comment telling me what you thought of this journey, and stay tuned, because the Morozov family story is just beginning.